What's going on, everybody? I hope you're doing well, and welcome to another vlog here on the channel. I know that I rarely vlog here on the channel, but I wanted to actually make one today because I am on my way to the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association, also known as PMEA. They're having a summer music conference in Reading, PA today, and I'm going to be facilitating a workshop on how to integrate drum set studies into the K-12 general music classroom. Now, the reason why I wanted to make a vlog is because a lot of times when drummers or educators are talking about facilitating a clinic or workshop, masterclass, whatever you want to label it as, it's usually an opportunity for them to play drums in front of other drummers. The difference with this workshop, however, is that this is catered towards K-12 music educators. So if any of them have a percussion background, most likely it's going to be classical or marching percussion. Now, because I have a background in drum set education, that is something that's a little bit of an anomaly when you start talking about music education, especially in the K-12 classroom. So I wanted to take you all along on this journey so you can see more than just the workshop itself, but also all of the things that you have to do leading up to that point. Now, luckily, the conference this year is only about an hour away from where I am right outside of Philly, so it's a quick, easy drive, and I'm about 30 minutes out at this point. So we're gonna keep on driving and then go from there. All right, so parked. Now it's time to unload all this gear. All right, so if you are ever doing things that are close to home, always should make your trips as easy as possible. This card has saved me way too many times. One trip in, one trip out. Throw the symbols on the back. Gotta head in, check in, figure out what room I'm in, and then start setting up. Here we go. All right, so checked in the space. This is the room that I will be in. This is very typical when you're in some type of hotel. They basically have these wonderful conference rooms. I have a projector, a couple rows of chair, drums over there. So there's a couple things to think about when you're doing a presentation like this, especially when you're drum set. Number one, this room is super live and active. There's a lot of reverb in here, so volume will carry. The other thing is there will be additional presentations all throughout, next to me, across the hall, things like that. So I have to be pretty mindful of volume while I'm doing that. Also, if you look, this whole setup with the chairs in rows, like a traditional style classroom, lecture style, doesn't really work. So what I'm actually going to do is move all of this around, make it a little more welcoming, comfortable, and make sure that all the chairs are set up in a way so everybody can see what I'm doing. So two things. One, it's pretty early. Presentation isn't until later on in the afternoon, which is 1 o'clock. And I wanted to get here early because when you're in a situation like this, you don't really know what you're walking into, except for you're gonna be in a big reverberating space that isn't made for music. So I'm going to start setting everything up, rearranging the room, doing that, and I can take my time with it. I'm not gonna feel rushed, make sure I have everything that I need as far as PDFs are concerned, connections for all my devices, make sure the drums are set up correctly and comfortably, and then we can get going. All right, so I'm gonna take this and set it up in the corner, start setting everything up. Okay, so all set up. What I actually ended up doing here is just kind of put all the chairs in a circle, put the kit in the middle, slightly on an angle, that way, depending on where somebody sits, they can see what I'm doing, how I'm playing. Also because I am going to be asking people to come up and play after we go over a couple things. So let me give you a quick rig rundown, and then we can go from there. So the kit that I have with me are the downbeats that I've restored here on the channel. These are the late 60s, and from the serial numbers, it looks like they're either from 67 or 68. So it's a 20-inch kick drum, 12-inch rack tom, 14-inch floor tom. And then for the snare drum, I actually have my pewter copperphonic, which is one of my most favorite snare drums because of the versatility. If I'm on a gig, I can usually go with a Black Beauty, which is the 8x14 that I have, or this, and I can get all the sounds that I want. But I wanted to give a modern drum rather than bringing in, say, like my 60s Acrolite that I usually play with this kit. Now, as far as cymbals are concerned, once again, this room is pretty boomy, so I know cymbals will get carried away very, very quickly. I have a set of just traditional cymbals, but I set up the Zildjian low volume cymbals because of the fact that if I just take a stick, here's a perfect example. They make noise, but it's not going to overpower this room like cymbals would do. So that's going to help out with the volume. Then over here to the left of the kit, I have my Prologix Johnny Rab Ostinato practice pad. And the reason why I brought this one is because of the fact that it has those two different playing surfaces, which is going to make it a whole lot easier if I'm demonstrating anything, or if I want somebody to play and demonstrate, they can have their two different sounds, which is crucial when you're talking about drum set, because a lot of folks can figure things out, figure out patterns, stickings, all of that. And then as soon as you start mixing up the voices, everything kind of goes out of whack. So it's super crucial that you go over that stuff when you're talking about drum set education. The other really cool thing about this practice pad is that if I flip it over, there is a harder recycled vortex playing surface, which is similar to the feeling of a marching drum. So as far as education is concerned, this is a great pad to have because of its versatility. And then of course there's an insert that you can put here that doesn't have as much rebound. I didn't bring it with me because I was afraid I'd lose it. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. And that's kind of it. So it's currently around 9:30 and the welcome workshop is around 10 o'clock or so. So I have about a half hour, which is great. It gives me enough time to actually tune the drums, make sure they're good to go. These drums I always have in cases at my house, so when I have a situation like this, I can just grab them and go. And I have lightweight hardware, so it makes it super easy. Now that classic maple kit that I have in a lot of my videos, I keep that set up primarily because it makes it a lot easier. When I have to record videos, I can just go to the space, turn on the recording stuff, and go. The last thing I would want to do is have to tear that down, set it back up, and all of that. On top of that, I wanted to bring these because since they are older drums from the 60s, and we are talking to music educators, there might be a situation where they have older drums. The hardware isn't as durable as current modern day kits. And let's face it, with the way that everybody treats education in general, especially music education, it's usually something that is very difficult to get funding for and money. So a lot of times you have to make do with what you have. Now, mind you, this is a fantastic example because it's been restored and ready to go, but it goes to show as well that you can actually use something that is older, maybe the hardware isn't as durable, and you can use that in your environment, in your educational setting, if unfortunately that is all that you have. And I know I'm saying unfortunately if that's all that you have, but if you walked into a school, I know any drummer walk into a school, if you saw a 60s downbeat, which is the sound that everybody wants with vintage drums, you'd be like, this is awesome. But sometimes kids look at it and go, why am I playing on this like old beat up drum kit? All right, so since I have that time, I'm actually going to tune these drums real quick because last time I had them out was actually for a couple musicals at the Media Theater. Mind you, when I play shows there, it is 6 shows a week, and the 2 shows that I played ran from November through March. So they took quite a beating. So I'm going to tune the drums, make sure that they sound good in this big boomy room, and then be set to go. guess I'm not going to tune these because they actually sound really good. And okay, so here's the really awesome thing about these vintage drums is that they have the baseball bat internal mufflers. So if I have them disengaged, now the heads on these drums are the Weather King coated classics, so they're a little bit bigger than your traditional single ply head or any head in that matter, because with vintage drums, there are times that you run into some warping issues, so you need something a little bit bigger so it can actually fit over the bearing edge. Now, as you know, single ply coated heads, they're going to be super resonant, they're going to ring a lot. Now, the best part is that I can engage these internal mufflers and control the sound a little bit so it deadens them. Now, I have this wonderful survival kit from Tackle Instruments, which has some of their true tones, which I could put on them, but I don't really have to because I think that's fine. Snare sounds just like a normal snare that you would hear. Obviously, we're not going to be doing any rim shots in here. Everything is sounding good to me, so we're just going to leave it. All right, so workshop is over. Now, I wanted to get some footage of it, but you have to remember that with all of these types of workshops, conferences, things of that nature, you would have to get consent, you'd have people have to sign off on releases, all that kind of stuff, and can't really do that. So, didn't get any footage of the workshop, but there is a couple things that I actually want to share with all of you, which are standard questions that I ask at every one of these types of workshops as I get this thing back to the cart. So, two things. The reason why I do these types of workshops is because of the fact that I am talking to K-12 music educators, which is what I am. That's my full-time gig. It just so happens to be drum set related. So, the reason why I actually teach these types of workshops is because I love to engage with educators, because being an educator myself with a background in drum set, I've noticed when we talk about percussion in the educational environment, there are two routes, classical and marching. So what that means is that we have all of these educators who have to go through all of these requirements in order to get certified to teach, and none of them know anything about drum set. It's not their fault. It's because whoever was teaching their percussion methods course was either classically trained or somebody who was really in the marching percussion. So somebody like myself with a background in drum set, or Mark DiCiani, my mentor and the person that I help out with all of this kind of stuff, he's helped out me tremendously with coming up with content. We're scratching our heads. We're noticing these folks are the ones who are teaching kids about music education, and they know nothing about how to play the drum set at all. So anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I'm gonna load all this stuff back into the car and head home. All right, so almost home at this point, but kind of wanted to circle back and wrap up this vlog. I would say today was a pretty successful day, not because of the fact that I was able to identify again that educators, music educators I should say, don't really know much about the drum set, but because of the fact that if you looked out at all of those who attended the workshop today, they were all different ages, with all different backgrounds and experiences, teaching various styles of music education, whether it is concert band, orchestra, choir, general music and theory, you name it. And that just goes to show you once again that drum set is a topic that nobody is discussing, and we need to. In order for us to get to that next level and to progress and to reach our students, to get more of them involved, looks like they're interested in drum set, and gotta teach them. Now, everybody who attends any workshop like this that I facilitate actually receives a copy of my drum set guide for free. And the reason why is because I truly believe that educators should know all of the information in that guide. And we're talking about technique fundamentals, how to teach basic eighth note grooves, how to actually effectively teach a student how to play the drums, and how to have them establish an effective practice routine And then diving into stuff even deeper than that, talking about drum set maintenance and tuning your drums and recommendations on gear and whole 9 yards. But anything that a student could approach their teacher with and ask is covered in this guide. And I give it away for free. And people will say, you're out of your mind. You should totally charge people. It's a ton of content. It's a ton of helpful information. But I truly feel that when it comes to education and getting certified to be a music educator, we're missing the mark when it comes to percussion because nobody's addressing drum set. And for those students who want to learn about drum set, like I was when I was in high school, we're missing them. We're not getting them involved. We're not giving them an opportunity to actually be involved with any type of music education while they're in school. And that needs to change. It really does. I can go on a tangent for hours and dive into this and say it needs to be done and everything else, but the proof's in the pudding with all the stats of every time I teach one of these workshops, I get answers like this. Now, mind you, when I ask this question, it's always a prerequisite for attending my workshop, and I always give the same 3 response answers. Yes, no, briefly. And by briefly, I mean drum set was offered in percussion methods for 1 class out of the entire semester, or just discussed briefly during one of those classes. You can see here the responses from everybody who attended today was either no or briefly. And this is unfortunate when you think about it, because when it comes to drum education, it's just the trickle down effect. This person taught me to do it this way, and that's how it's done, so that's how we're going to just do it. That whole mindset, it works, but we also need to change that, like, big time. And this is kind of the start of that. So hopefully over time, more and more people are identifying that students are interested in learning this, and we need to provide those students with an opportunity to be able to do this during the school day. Yeah, let's change the narrative here. Let's shift it from just classical and marching to classical, marching, and drum set. And I think we'll be able to do that. It just unfortunately might take a little bit of time. And that is it. If you enjoyed this vlog, make sure that you give it a thumbs up, and feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. And just let me know if you enjoyed this vlog, if you want to see more videos like this. If enough people do, more than happy to continue doing it. And while you are here, make sure that you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification. That way you're notified of any additional content that I upload to the channel. And that is it. Thank you so much for checking out this vlog. Until next time, see you later.